Imagine that at some point in your art career, you have a solo show and you are supposed to give an artist talk, and you have to tell about what you create, why you create, and like many other artists, you start feeling nervous, fumbling with words, trembling legs, dry throat. So this seems to be a familiar situation with many of us. I'll be discussing on this topic. Hello friends, I'm Neena Singh, a professional artist, writer and art conservator, and I will share with you 12 tips how to talk effectively about your artworks without fumbling, without being nervous. I will help you make your art talk more relevant, entertaining and more successful, and the next time when you stand in front of the audience speaking about your art, you are more confident and more relaxed. And before I move ahead, are you guys prepared to learn how to talk about your artwork? Please type yes in the chat box. I'm actually super excited that you decided to join to me. And let me share my screen. Just give me 1 second. I'll share my screen. Now, during an art event, your goal is to introduce yourself, connect with people by briefly telling them about who you are, describing your art, and also addressing a handful of questions if people ask about your artwork. So, although the artists, they know about their work, but of course they know more intimately than anyone else on the planet. But talking about their art and speaking this feeling into words can be very difficult for many. The first most important thing, remember that you are the top authority of your artwork. It is very obvious that who will know more about your technique, your background, or the theme other than you? No one. I repeat that no one will know more about your techniques. And moreover, when people attend your art talk, or when they come to an art event where you are one of the participants, or you have a solo show, generally people who attend your art talk will either have a genuine interest and they want to know more about your artwork, or often at times it may be that they have great appreciation for the art, but they don't know much about art. They have appreciation for art, but they are not aware or they don't know much about the art. So it's your job to educate, inform, and maybe even entertain them. So because it is after all your creation, you are witness to each and every decision you made while painting or creating artwork, maybe a sculpture or whatever it is. You made the decisions of everything regarding the size, the medium you chose, the theme you selected, the style, the color scheme, and so on. So you are the best person to talk about your art. So the first thing is you are the top authority of your artwork and accept it. The second is construct a simple storyline. Now, whenever you are in an exhibition, exhibiting your artwork, you create a simple storyline. Now, why stories? The question might come to your mind, why do we need stories? Because I think that we are all wired. Our DNA tells us to tell stories. We tell stories all the time about everything we do. We have stories to narrate. And I think that we do it because the world is a kind of crazy, chaotic place, and these stories have to make some sense, trying to bring some order to it. So this is the reason why we need to apply this concept of adding story to our work. So construct a story. Now, what I mean to say is a real story. A story will build cohesion between you and the audience. And good stories, they engage the audience more effectively. To knit a story around your artwork, where should you start? Begin with the art process, the influences or the concerns which led to the artwork, and then highlight the key artworks in the show. You might have displayed a lot of artworks. That doesn't mean that you are going to narrate about each and every artwork. So you highlight the key artwork in the show, and then finally wind up your talk with a final thought. Now, the very first thing is to begin with writing down bits and pieces about your background, what led you to the point, what motivated you, anything, whatever comes to your mind, just put it down in writing in a piece of paper or any diary, whatever you find it easy. At the initial stage of writing, you don't have to be a perfectionist. Simply, you have to write it down, whatever comes to your mind. Then get all the, once you get all the rough ideas down, then you can begin to go through them and make the connections. Connect all the different points about your art, your process, your motivation, your inspiration, everything. You should comb it and make connections after, later on. But at the initial stage, you simply jot down without bothering about the grammatical errors or whatever. You just simply write the main important points. Now, for example, I'll give you an example that you are a landscape artist and you created plein air painting. So how can you start? You can start painting outside is cool because, and then you can continue saying why you consider it cool. Or if you are an abstract painter, now I would like to say here that when if you are an abstract painter, don't say that if someone asks you, can you please explain about your artwork? So please don't say that. I leave it to the viewer to interpret. I don't want to block the minds of the viewer. They have an open view. The viewer will, as it is, interpret. Or maybe the at times what happens, the viewer may feel blocked when he's trying to understand your artwork and he genuinely wants to know the artist's version. So tell your story. Albert Einstein, he was a very famous scientist, as you all know. So he says that if you can't explain it, you don't understand well enough. If you can't explain it, so if you are not able to explain your artwork and you tell that I'll leave it to the viewer to be more open to interpret, and they are free to interpret whatever they want. So this type of answers actually don't satisfy the viewer and they may feel disconnected. Maybe that your audience is intelligent enough or they are aware how to see art, but there may be many viewers who may not be understanding and they might be trying to get connected through your artwork. So I believe that a good artist talk will make the viewer engage more in depth with your artwork if you tell a story behind it, the in-depth story, the story behind your artwork. So it will create a deeper conversation between the viewer and the artwork. The next important thing is be honest and genuine. What I mean to see is, when I'm telling that you have to create a story around your artwork, that doesn't mean that you have to make things up. If you don't know why you made certain choices in your practice, that's fine. For many artists, it is difficult to pinpoint a why for every decision they have made while creating a body of work, because of course the creative expression is always quite intuitive. So there may not be, you may not have answers for every why. If you are trying to make up stories, people can tell whenever you try to make up stories, and you might have come across such situations and where you can make up that the artist is not being authentic. If your art doesn't sound like you, मतलब आप जो हो वही आपके आर्ट के द्वारा, आपकी बातों के द्वारा आपको लगना चाहिए. If your art talk doesn't sound like you, it is crap and just scrap it off. आप बिल्कुल ऐसी कोई बात मत कहिए जो आपके अनुसार ना हो, जो आपके व्यक्तित्व हो, जो आपके आर्ट के बारे में हो. आप सिर्फ उन्हीं चीजों को जो है बोलने की कोशिश करिए, बट डेफिनेटली जो है आप जो सही चीज हो वही कहे, बिकॉज ऑल द ऑडियंस दे अटैच टू योर ऑथेंटिसिटी, द क्रेडिबिलिटी, द ईथोस, नॉट समवन एल्सेस. आप किसी का और का आर्ट स्टेटमेंट कहीं से आपको मिल गया और आप उसको अपने आर्ट के साथ सोच रहे कि मिलता जुलता टाइप का हम उसको यूज कर ले, बट people will not connect with it because you yourself will not connect with it. So और कोई भी जब व्यक्ति आपका आर्टवर्क देखता है तो वो आपसे कनेक्ट होना चाहता है, आपके आर्टवर्क से कनेक्ट होना चाहता है, ना कि किसी और के व्यक्तित्व से जुड़ना चाहता है. जो आपका एग्जीबिशन देखने आया वो आप ही के बारे में जानने के लिए आया, आप ही के आर्टवर्क के बारे में जानने के लिए आया है. So don't attempt to be pretentious or talk about what you don't know. Be honest. If you don't know anything, just say it simply that I don't know about it. Suppose if you have worked on a abstract painting, but the person is asking what is not related to your artwork, you don't have to justify it. You just simply say that no, I'm not aware of it. So, friends, do you agree with what I have said? Type I agree in the chat box if you are convinced with what I have said. Please type I agree in the chat box if you are convinced. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. So, the next important thing is rehearse your story. Rehearse your story as if you are rehearsing for a play. आपको याद होगा स्कूल कॉलेज के जमाने में, अगर आपने देखा होगा स्कूल में जब रिहर्सल चलती है प्ले वगैरह की, तो महीनों रिहर्सल चलती है. तो I don't mean to say that you have to rehearse for months, but at least rehearse whatever you have written. You rehearse. Even if you think that you know everything about your art, finding the right order to talk can be tricky. You might feel completely comfortable when you're talking about your art in a conversation. जब one-to-one conversation करते हैं, तो you are very comfortable talking about your art. But when you have to speak for a solid 5 minutes, 10 minutes, it can be difficult to speak about your artwork if you have not prepared well, if you have not rehearsed well. So I have attended several exhibitions and I have seen that many artists are repetitive and they keep on repeating the same thing again and again in different words. तो वो interesting नहीं लगता है सुनने में. So my recommendation is कि rehearse your story and practice makes you better. There is nothing like naturally gifted speakers. कोई भी व्यक्ति जो होता है वो naturally gifted speaker नहीं होता है. With practice, one can improve. Even the psychologists find that direct statistical relationship between hours of practice and achievement means आपने जितना ज़्यादा, even जैसे आपने किसी गिटारिस्ट को कहा, तो ऐसा साइकोलॉजिस्ट लोगों ने इसको रिसर्च के द्वारा प्रूव किया है कि एटलीस्ट मतलब बचपन से लोग बजाते आ रहे हैं, एंड व्हेन यू पुट इट इनटू द आवर्स ऑफ प्रैक्टिस, 10,000 hours of practice is required to develop any skill. So even when it comes to speaking, you have to put in lot of efforts. There are no shortcuts. There are no naturally gifted people. So I remember when I was in school, I read in my Hindi class that करत करत अभ्यास के जड़मती होत सुजान, रसरी आवत जाते सिल पर परत निशान. ये मुझे विश्वास है कि मैक्सिमम लोगों ने इसको सुना होगा. और इसके कवि कौन है मुझे कवि का नाम याद नहीं है, लेकिन इसका अर्थ ये है कि जिस प्रकार कुएं की जगत की जो पत्थर होता है उस पर पानी खींचने से रस्सी के बार बार आने जाने से निशान अंकित हो जाते हैं, उसी प्रकार निरंतर अभ्यास करने से जो है जड़मती अर्थात जो बुद्धिहीन व्यक्ति होता है वो भी बुद्धिमान बन जाता है. What I mean to say is speaking is a skill which can be acquired by practice. You don't need any rocket science for that. It is just simple practice, but you have to take that extra effort for that. The next one is KISS. Now today KISS is a principle that is celebrated in many engineering professions, and KISS is a acronym for the phrase keep it simple and stupid. Keep it simple, stupid. So it is thought that this concept of KISS, this term, this phrase, this was coined by Kelly Johnson, and he was a lead engineer. And Kelly explained the idea to all his subordinates or the other people in the company through very simple stories. And he told that if the products are not very simple to understand, they will quickly become obsolete. Any product which is not simple to understand by common people, they will become obsolete. What I mean to say is, don't ever fill your art talk with unnecessary आर्ट jargons, बड़ी बड़ी बातें जो आपके मुंह में समा नहीं रही है, ऐसी बड़ी बड़ी बातें, ऐसे बड़ी बड़ी टर्मिनोलॉजी बिल्कुल यूज मत करिए, एकदम सिंपल रखिए. Don't get bogged down in trying to explain complicated theories, philosophies, or even techniques in your talk. Try and keep it as simple as possible. Connect with the audience through direct, short, and clear language. The simplest explanation is most powerful, most relatable, and honest. Just remember that less is more. अपने कम से कम शब्दों में आप अपनी सिंपल वे में जो अच्छे से आप बात समझा सकते हैं, वही बेस्ट तरीका है, और उसके लिए आपको प्रिपरेशन की जरूरत होती है. नाउ द नेक्स्ट वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट कॉन्सेप्ट इज नो योर टारगेट ऑडियंस. First thing is to figure out the one aspect of your art that you think is essential for other people to know. ऐसी कोई एक चीज आपके आर्ट वर्क पे सबसे पहले उसको फिगर आउट करिए कि अगर जो व्यूअर है, अगर जो ऑडियंस है, वो आपके आर्ट वर्क के बारे में वो चीज अगर नहीं जानेगा तो वो आपके आर्ट वर्क को प्रॉपर तरीके से समझ नहीं पाएगा. तो पहले तो आप वो एक आर्ट वर्क पे अपने एस्पेक्ट को आइडेंटिफाई करिए. देन you figure out how to explain your art to 5 different categories of people. For instance, consider that your audience is a non-artist friend. ठीक है, आप अपने जब डिस्क्रिप्शन को लिखिए तो आप इस तरीके से लिखिए कि आपके दिमाग में 5 कैटेगरी के कम से कम लोग होने चाहिए. पहला है a non-artist friend, दूसरा है an artist फ्रेंड. इसके लिए आपको जो है अपनी जो प्रिपरेशन है वो करनी चाहिए. तो पहला है एक नॉन आर्टिस्ट फ्रेंड को अगर आपको अपने आर्टवर्क को डिस्क्राइब करना है. दूसरा है व्हेन यू हैव टू एक्सप्लेन इट टू एन आर्टिस्ट फ्रेंड. द थर्ड बीइंग अ क्यूरेटर और अ गैलरी पर्सन. फोर्थ इज अ नेबर. ये अलग अलग कैटेगरी के लोग हैं जिनके लिए आपको अपना आर्ट वर्क समझाना आना चाहिए. If you are using the same language for each audience, then you are losing 4/5 of those potential audience. So you need to fine tune your description based on the exact audience. You should know whom you are talking to and what is their level of understanding. अब मान लीजिए कोई बहुत सीनियर आर्टिस्ट आते हैं तो आप उनसे उसी तरह से नहीं बताओगे उनको अपने आर्टवर्क के बारे में जिस तरह से आप अपने ग्रैंड पेरेंट्स को बता रहे हो. So these things you have to understand that when you are describing your artwork, keep it as simple as possible, rehearse it, and then you understand your audience. Please type yes in the chat box if it is clear. So that's great. Now the next thing is guide your audience to the artwork. Now your art talk should be like it is directing the viewer towards your art. Point out in the direction of a particular work as you talk about it. Give insight of the specific details about a work. As I told you earlier, that you may display lot of artworks in the gallery, but you need to, while discussing about your artwork, you need to talk about specific artworks which are most important in your exhibition. So give details about a work and point at it with your hand. So this will engage the viewer with, guide your audience with your artwork. So what I mean to say that when you're explaining or telling something about your artwork, point it with your hand. It will engage the viewer with your art and there will be a sense of connection with your artwork. For example, if you see on the left behind me, you will see this painting. Now, if I have to explain about this painting, so what will I say? This painting is inspired by a beautiful place, Bhedaghat near Jabalpur. As I have spent a large part of my life in Jabalpur, the marble rocks of Bhedaghat attracted me with a sense of gratitude towards the holy Narmada. And when I was young, my life revolved around the river Narmada, either at the Gwari Ghat or Bargi Dam or at the Bheda Ghat. So when it came to painting, these locations were in my subconscious mind, and in this artwork, I have improvised my brush strokes and so on. We can continue. Means you can start with the inspiration part. What inspired to do you to do a particular artwork, and then further you can go to your process of painting. What have you made any improvisation? Have you used any specific style, or it is your original style which you have developed? Tell something about it. Whatever what was behind it, you just tell about it, and that will give a great experience to the audience, and they will know more about your artwork. They will know more about you. So now coming to the next point, eliminate language that fades your expertise. Even if this is your first job, your first solo show, or this is the very beginning of your career, own what you are doing and present yourself with confidence. During your art talk, never use phrases like I am trying to do this through my painting, or I'm aspiring to, or I'm interested in so and so. Don't use such phrases. If you are working, don't say such things that I make artwork on weekends, and as I am an IT professional, I paint when once the kids are in the bed, so when I get time I paint. Such statements make your artwork sound like a tiny project. It sounds as if art is very low in your priority list. ठीक है, अगर आप इस तरह के स्टेटमेंट्स देते हैं तो जो सुनने वाला है वो क्या सोचेगा, यू आर अ न्यूबी, अभी आप अपने आर्ट को लेके इतने सीरियस नहीं हो, क्योंकि आपके प्रायोरिटी लिस्ट सब चीजों से फुर्सत मिल जाए तो आप कभी कभार आर्ट बना लेते हो. इस टाइप के आदमी की जो व्यूअर है वो आपको उस फॉर्म में लेगा. सो नेवर यूज such words. Stop using the words that I'm an aspiring artist, I'm an emerging artist, even words like I'm an amateur artist. You are aspiring if you want to do something. Once you have done it, you are no longer aspiring. जब तक नहीं किया तब तक aspiring है. जब कर लिया, आप एक इतने बड़े प्लेटफॉर्म पे आ गए कि आप एक सोलो शो करने जा रहे हो, या आप एक बड़े एग्जीबिशन का पार्ट हो, कोई रेप्यूटेड शो के हिस्सा हो, so you are no longer aspiring. You are living your life and kicking goals and rocking out. So using words such as aspiring, emerging, it only tells people that you are new to art field and people can pay less for your artwork. So do not demean your artwork in any way. जब भी आप किसी आर्ट इवेंट में हो, the spotlight should be your art. When you are speaking, the spotlight should be your art. Let's say that you are not a full-time artist, but there is no need to mention it during an art talk. When you are presenting yourself as an artist, present yourself with authority. Don't define yourself by your day job, like I am an artist and I am a data entry analyst, or I am a sculptor and a banker, or I'm a corporate person and doing art as a time pass. अगर आप टाइम पास के लिए वर्क कर रहे हो तो लोग भी आपको टाइम पास आर्टिस्ट ही समझेंगे ना, है ना. या आई एम अ पेंटर एंड अ केमिस्ट्री टीचर. डोंट मेंशन योर जॉब व्हेन यू आर डिस्कसिंग योर आर्ट वर्क. ओन योर क्रिएटिव process and take responsibility of how and when you make art, how you deliver that message to others. Speak about your art in a way that it doesn't depreciate what you create. You may be shy, you may be introvert, but do not undermine your excellence. That's very, very important. Then the next important point is avoid sales pitch. As an artist, if you are a full-time artist, you might be living through your work. You might be earning your living through your work. But if you attempt to sell your work every time you interact with an audience, you can quickly turn them off. art is incredibly subjective, and only people who feel an emotional connection with your artwork will purchase it. Okay, so talk about your art, create awareness about your work itself, how you conceptualize the idea, but avoid exaggerating your work by using overblown language while talking about it, because the language that is meant to impress may sound pretentious. So don't show your desperation to sell your art. Just tell about your artwork as genuinely, as honestly as possible. The next thing is focus when you're talking about it. Focus on those aspects of your art which are beyond visual appearance. Focus on aspects beyond visual appearance. Now, what I mean to see is that while your art talk, simply if you point out what is in front of the viewer's eyes, this will not allow them to understand the bigger picture. Try to give the viewer a behind the scene look. अब मान लीजिए आपने पहाड़ बनाया, पेड़ बनाया, कुछ बनाया, तो इसमें मैंने ये ट्री बनाए हैं, इसमें मैंने वाटरफॉल बनाया है, इस तरह का आप अपने आर्ट को डिस्क्राइब मत करिए, क्योंकि वो ऑलरेडी दिख रहा है, जो ऑब्वियस है वो मत कहिए, ठीक है. Speak about where did you find the inspiration for a particular piece of artwork. What were the factors that you considered before selecting a specific medium? Maybe you are working in more than one medium. Say oil painting भी करते हैं आप, acrylic भी करते हैं, pastels में भी करते हैं. तो आपने किसी specific artwork को करने के लिए अगर oil use किया है या pastel use किया है, तो why did you select the specific medium? तो कुछ ऐसी चीज के लिए बताइए जो कि देख के समझ में नहीं आ रही है. Then what was going through your mind when a new idea struck you? So consider all these points and discuss on these points instead of simply telling what is already obviously visible in the painting. The last one point I would like to tell is focus on the positive. Even though your art may touch on negative aspects or controversial aspects or say some unpleasant subjects, you should always look towards the plus side. For example, if you make art about degradation of the environment, say something, so when you have to speak about the degradation of environment, don't say that my art is about the greed, oppression, or abuse of power or smashing the corporate machine. No, don't say such negative things. You say something like, my art visualizes a world where people become more and more aware of the importance of conserving energy or conserving the environment. So people do what they can to preserve the environment and responsibly share our natural wealth. So give a positive outcome. If you want people to come over to your way of thinking or they start seeing things, be gentle, encouraging, and speak in terms of beneficial outcomes rather than the opposite. So you may talk about these negative aspects of, say, as I gave the example of the degrading environment. You can talk about it, but the tougher talk is best saved for one-to-one conversation with those who want to hear it and they have their point of view. So while your discussion, you can talk on these topics, but while you're addressing the audience, you simply be focused on the positive aspect. Throughout your career as an artist, there will be numerous occasions where you will be required to network with people and to talk about your artworks. I hope these 12 simple tips that I shared will help you to talk effectively about your artwork and speak at art events with an fulfilling experience. That's it for today, and thank you all for joining me. Thank you so much.